day that one wakes up. It is Tuesday, and it is the last day of the month. So officially, this is the middle of the year. So starting tomorrow, we will be on the other half of the year. And before I start, I do want to remind everyone, or at least let everybody know, that on July 22nd, and I'm going to be repeating it before the show is over, I'm hosting a judicial forum at the Kendall Lakes Village, and it's presented by Salad. I don't remember exactly what it stands for, but it's called Salad. And there's a bunch of sponsors. El Borced, Election Integrity. We have the Only in Hialeah Gardens, Only in Hialeah, Only in Kendall, Kendall Living, and so on. So, and then we got one more, because if I don't say it, SAR, which they help out women that in domestic violence. They're also sponsoring this event. So please, everybody, put it on your calendar, July 22nd at 6 p.m. at the Kendall Village Center. Well, again, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Miami Community News, for having us. Like always, today I have a guest. His name is Rey Sordo. Yes, everybody, you heard correctly. Sordo, like you can't hear. So, Rey, how you doing today?
I'm hearing you well, so thank you for asking. And I'm intending to hear the people well as well. No pun intended, but I'm doing great. Thank you for asking, man. Like you said, blessed to be here, blessed to have a busy schedule, and I hope it gets busier.
Yes, and again, thank you for coming on. I know you have a busy schedule. You are a candidate for what district, so everybody knows?
Happy to say District 119, which is for all my layman peoples out there like myself. It's going to be, you got the Ferguson area, as I call it, 8th Street, right nestled next to the Everglades. You've got Kendall right underneath, the hammocks underneath that, Country Walk, Mi Casita, where I'm from, or what I call the Metro Zoo corridor, and then a little bit of the Redlands at the bottom. So a whole big old slice of Miami. To the left of us is the Everglades, which I care about, and to the right is the rest of the city. So
there you go. So and I'm gonna have them repeat it again before the show is up, because that's a lot of areas to remember.
Yeah.
So are you originally from Miami?
Yeah, I was born and raised in the same home, 162nd. Come stalk me. Right next to Metro Zoo, next to Country Walk. I went to Noma Butler Broussard, Jorge Mascanosa, and Sunset Senior High. So
okay.
I was all up and down, my district, and I'm happy to say I'm a thoroughbred Miamian.
Yeah, so you're a native. Hey, so I got a quick question. Being that you lived right by Metro Zoo, so like when you didn't want to go to school, did you go a lot to Metro Zoo or what?
God, this is gonna get me in trouble, but yeah, absolutely. And my family's probably tired of me talking about the zoo. My campaign is probably tired of me talking about the zoo. It's one of those things that I hold near and dear to my heart. It's extremely important to me, not just because of the revolutionary direction that zoo has taken with how they've treated animals since the very beginning, but also with how they lead with education and inclusion and community, which is what my campaign's all about, right? So if anything, thank you, Miami Zoo, for building me and my campaign. You guys should be proud of myself.
And I mean, me and my family, we're actually annual ticket holders to the zoo, because I got grandkids. In fact, now that our grandkids, a shout out to my granddaughter. Today's her birthday. She turns 5 today. So little Janine, my bug, happy birthday. And it's also actually Mayor Eileen Higgins' birthday today.
Oh, wow.
So Mayor, if you happen to see this show, happy birthday from all of us here.
Happy birthday to special women.
And also at the zoo, we also have the military museum.
Yeah.
Which is dear to my heart, because as a Navy veteran, I go there a lot, and the chief warrant officer that's there, that's in charge of it, he's did an awesome job, and keeping it and keeping it alive.
And what better way to exemplify the American way of life than having not just an educational, but connection to nature next door, and then also have the very men and women who serve, protect, and build our communities. So it's beautiful. Yeah. And that's one thing that Miami does really well together, is we'll grab anything and everything, put it in pot, and make something nice out of it. So,
so you see, guys, we're giving you a plug. The zoo and the military museum.
Yes.
Anyway,
and the railway.
Yeah, we have the railway too, which I've been there one time. That's really nice. If you guys haven't gone, you got to go. Look, these are like icons of Miami,
institutions.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's good for the children, and it's good for adults too, because I always have a great time.
I agree.
Going there. So now you graduated. You college?
I am currently still a college student. I'm happy to say at Miami-Dade College, and I never plan on stopping a student. I want to stay at school, and we were just discussing that ourselves.
Yes.
Just like the ancients of old, life is not just a school, but we should continue to ever continue our education. And
what are you striving for as far as education? What do you want to be when you grow up?
Well, I actually wanted to become a lawyer.
Okay.
I did study a bit of law, political science, psychology, history is my thing. I've been told my whole life to become a history professor, which I don't foresee that happening.
Okay.
But for me, it's always been a little bit of a mix of everything. I never really knew what I was going to be. I served tables at Flanagan's, I'm happy and proud to say. I've managed teams or my own business at Earl's. I have my own small business, I'm happy to say, which is successful, and a whole bunch of other things. But that's a bit like Miami, right?
And what do you do in your business, if I may ask?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a mold tester. A mold assessor is the correct term. So if you have mold in your home, I'm happy to assess that mold for you. But I am sent out by the insurance company, and it's crazy to see how often, especially our most vulnerable community members, like our elderly, are left in situations where their entire home is just covered in mold, and it's heartbreaking to see because they're usually alone.
Okay. Can you check mold in the AC vents too?
Yeah, so we do. So that I would defer to other companies, trusted, partners, or even within your own insurance field. But for the most part, I just assess the mold.
Oh, wow. Well, look at that. I mean, that's new to me. I didn't even know they had something like that, but it's good to know. And before we leave, I'm going to get your information because, you never know. Again, if you have mold, especially with the old Chinese drywall situation that went on, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's hundreds of homes that still are in that situation. So if you have mold, call Rey. He'll check it out.
A big part of it, and this draws to my campaign and our efforts with enhancing infrastructure and making sure that our companies are held accountable. A big part of it is also the lack or really just negligence on construction companies or developers where they allow homes to be soaked with rains that so often come to South Florida, and then they don't really properly treat that or remediate that situation. So what happens is that they will enclose that home, put the roof over it, and families move in unawares, and then they don't understand the actual dangers of having mold hiding in the walls. But
no, that's great. In fact, now that you mention all those things, so you're running for state representative.
Correct.
Why?
That's a great question, and one that I had to grapple myself with a lot because I felt that there were so many whys. But the biggest why just goes back to the same reason every single day that reminds me why it is that I'm doing this, and it's people. It's not so much who or what, but more so the people. And it's the fact that I've grown up with so many of my own friends and families and cousins. Many of them are Republicans. I'm a Democrat, but Republicans themselves who have had to move out because they can no longer afford to stay in the homes that they were born in and meant to live in, and they can't. Many of them have moved to Tennessee or Texas or any other state instead of the great state of Florida. And it angers me because I feel like we're being ignored. I feel like the grandma who's trying to stay in the home that she's lived in for decades, or the students who are trying to make a difference or believe in a brighter future, are being ignored. And I mentioned it yesterday, and I'm going to keep saying it. Those people are my silent majority. Right. Those people are the silent majority who currently reside in Miami-Dade, who have not been paid attention to or have been left on the back burner by Tallahassee and politicians bought by special interests or corporations who fund their campaigns to do exactly that. Put the voices in the back burner, and I want to run so that I can lift those voices up and be a collective voice for all those who have been ignored for too long.
Well, that's great. That's great to know. I mean, look, it's your generation that the laws that are being put in now is going to affect you guys more than my generation. Yeah. So you stepping up to the plate to make sure that you secure your future, it's good. I mean, I'm glad to see that that generation get involved. How much you believe that if you don't get involved, then you allow the 16% or less that
get
vote
left behind.
Exactly. Yeah. To decide how you live, and so it's great to see that you're stepping up to the plate. So how's your campaign going?
Oh, if you ask me, in tatters, but I have been blessed and extremely gracious and thankful for the amount of calls that I've gotten, not just from most especially the regular folk and the people who mean a lot to me, who have raised me, but more so leadership and people, pillars of this community who have called me to congratulate me on the very aggressive campaign that we've been running, an extremely organized campaign. I'm happy to say we're a bunch of 30, 20-something-year-olds people
Right.
who many of us have never run for politics before. Many of us have never believed in politics before, and yet we're now working to change that. We're now working to build the brighter future that we've been sold for so long, and then yet has been dangled in front of us, barely out of reach. But instead of sitting down and accepting it, we're going to stand up and we're going to grab it by force if we have to. And that's exactly what we're building with this campaign. And I'm happy to say, I have a fantastic team of leaders. I have entrepreneurs who have their own media business. One of them is here today, incredible person who has led the field in that regard, only 20 years old, and yet has huge clients and is my media team. And I'm blessed to have them. And I also have others who run their own nonprofit organizations who have been doing cleanups around the state for 10 years. And they're on my team as my environmental lead. And now we're actually trying to work with other environmental groups and bring them into the fold. I have lawyers, I have doctors, I have vets, I have people who just bag groceries at home, but yet they're coming together for a greater purpose. And to me, that's where the work starts. Not when we get into office, but now.
That's good. No, I mean, I totally agree. And so can you give me a little bit of insight, like what exactly you're doing? How many doors have you knocked? How many phone calls have you made?
Yeah.
Let the people, I want the people to know how aggressive. You said you're running an aggressive campaign, so let's hear those aggressive numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. So we definitely have hit a couple precincts already. We're actually gearing up for our biggest week next week to start knocking on more doors. I'm happy to say that just this week we did hit our 30th volunteer member. We have 2 more that we have to interview, people who are all eager to knock on doors and make phone calls. Many of them hablan español mucho más mejor de yo. Es muy necesario, ¿verdad? Pero estoy muy agradecido, and it's important to have people of all backgrounds. I have a lot of Venezuelans. Right now, we're also very focused on helping Venezuela and actually mobilizing our campaign to show up, not just speak out, but show up and lend a hand. But apart from that, the campaign right now is really focused on cementing the great relationships that we're building. Like I mentioned before, people who have governed and led communities before and also built communities with their hands. So we're working on that, and I'm happy to say that I've been invited to very prestigious meetings, but also very regular meetings with regular people, whether it's a barbecue outside of a gym, which I love, or if it's a fancy schmancy dinner with people who want to help make my campaign more important. But for me, it's always with the people. That's where it begins and ends, and I personally enjoy that a lot more.
That's good. And now that you mentioned about Venezuela, my heart goes out to all the Venezuelans out there. I remember when Ecuador had an earthquake, and because of that, they had a mudslide, so that caused a lot of damage too. And please go on my social media at Johnny G Farias. I have posted different sites that they're accepting donations. I have one in the Homestead area, so please go on there. Anything helps. Anything helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially for me, one thing that pisses me off, I'm sorry for the lack of professionalism, but especially I think my generation can resonate with this, is thoughts and prayers. I have been raised throughout my life. My faith has taught me that faith without action is dead faith, right? Well, thank you for your thoughts and prayers, but what we need is action. And that goes both ways with Venezuela, and when movements like this, where Miami-Dade has come together across the board, no matter who you are, creed, background, party, and yet unified for a greater cause. But also when it comes to calling for government to work harder for us, it's the same thing. Faith without action is dead faith. And that's exactly what we've been getting. Scraps instead of meals. They've been giving us pretty taglines or punchlines or even villainizing one another to make it feel like they're getting something done. But where is the substance? A lot of action and bills, but no substance or results. That's my problem.
So, what are your what's your most important issue right now?
For me, it's definitely on top of everybody's mind has to be affordability, and I think everybody has brought that to the forefront, and I'm glad that we all agreed that that's our most important issue. But I have to say that goes both ways. Affordability isn't just financial. When I say a future we can afford, it doesn't just mean what's in your pocket. It also means what's on your mind, what's in your spirit. If we're a community that's not just funded well and we don't have an infrastructure that actually supports that community, but we also don't invest in people's minds and hearts, then where's the pride? where is the community? What if we look up the dictionary definition of community? It literally involves a shared sense of purpose. And that includes something silly like planting more trees at a park so that abuelita doesn't have to sit in the heat while she watches the grandchildren play. Or we can bring down electrical costs, and an electricity man sitting across from me, you know this more than I, we can bring down electrical costs with proper shade. But it also adds to beautification of the city, right? At the end of the day, we want to see Miami, the city, beautiful. You know, not the city concrete or the city hot and don't want to be there.
Okay. Well,
So-
other than affordability, which I'm going to ask you a question about that again, what other things do you hear the community saying that they need?
Oh gosh. So, and this comes more from my tables when I'm serving. But people are just over the partisanship. People over party over people, and they want to put people over party. And that's what I'm talking about. I mean, I talk about it to my own party, my own friends, my own family, my campaign, and we're all agreed. Everybody, no matter what party you are on, we agree. It's time we put that stuff aside. Our founding fathers would be ashamed to see the state of not just Florida, but the country at large. And George Washington warned us for a reason. On his way out of office, what will happen if we fall into the party tricks? And here we are. So my thing is putting that stuff aside. Instead of renaming roads to, you know, add on to the culture wars, we should be rebuilding roads, revitalizing roads, rebuilding our homes, revitalizing our communities, right? Putting people first instead of pretty punchlines. A bunch of peas, but it's true. People are tired of this. The separation. We're America, for God's sakes. And Miami should lead the charge. Miami and Florida should lead the charge.
I agree with you. In fact, you just mentioned something that I actually posted something the other day that we have over 1,000 gasoline leaks in our ground, going to our groundwater. Okay, and for years they've been trying to fix this, but they haven't. And my
like
question,
the highways.
and my question there was, instead of doing this, why are we renaming roads and streets?
Yeah, I mean, and look,
So,
I don't
yeah.
have a problem with the renaming of the roads and stuff, especially for people who have lost their lives. I don't have an issue with that. What I do have an issue with is priorities. Like you said, we have to get our
Exactly.
priorities right? 'Cause
Exactly.
and if not that, then what else? If we elected you to represent the people to get to work, then we know what we need, especially in the year of 2026. You don't have to step too far outside to know where the people stand and how the people feel, right? Are we truly listening to the people when we're focused on stuff like that? Or renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America instead of actually producing results that will help grandma, grandpa, our sisters and brothers, our moms and dads, our teachers, our firefighters, our police officers, all these folks who actually build these communities. Their jobs don't end when the sirens go off. Their jobs don't end when they take off their uniforms and they go home. Are they going to have a home to go to? Are they going to be able to keep that home? I keep talking about this in my speeches. And I hope I find a man one day. But there was this big old, he was buff, he was bald, and he was a firefighter. And he lived across the street from my house, right across the street for as long as I can remember as I was a kid. And he would mow everybody's lawn on the weekend, shirtless, to show off that big old cross tattoo he had on his back, which I would actually get brushed on my back whenever I could as a little kid. Can you blame me? I wanted to be like him. But he would mow everybody's lawn. He would host the neighborhood barbecues. He would bring us all together in many ways that many people didn't. And this man basically raised me. He once saved me from a fire that my grandma started in the dryer by accident. You know? Headstrong, no hesitation. But here's the thing. 12 years ago, not in 2026 when everybody else is feeling it, but 12 years ago, that man lost his house. He came over to me and he apologized. He didn't have to apologize, but he apologized for leaving. And he made me this little man figure out of nuts and bolts because he used to weld himself. And he gave it to me as a parting gift. And I still remember that to this day because of how it impacted me. And he had to leave, not because he didn't love the community or because he wanted to leave, but because he had to leave because he couldn't afford to stay. And that was 12 years ago, Johnny. Imagine now. I was 12 years old, I think, or like 13. I'm 27 now. Where are we going? When people like that, who give their lives to defend and serve this community, are losing their homes, we've lost the plot. And we're renaming roads. We've lost the plot. So that's again, going back to why I'm running.
No, and I hear that all the time. Yes, it's getting very expensive to live.
It's a crisis.
Affordability is, it's not even affordable anymore. Now I hear the new punchline, affordable luxury.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, and it's a big thing. Going back to a future we can afford, I don't want people to just survive. People are surviving, keeping their head above water barely. They're not even, it's not even the next paycheck, it's the next bill. It's the next credit card bill.
Okay.
Taking themselves into debt.
Well, with that said, I have a question. So, you win. You're up there in Tallahassee. There's 120 representatives. How do you
Bridge.
Well, it's going to be hard to bridge.
Yeah.
But what can you do, or what do you expect to do to try to make a change? Especially when it comes to affordability. What are you going to put on the table to say, look, we all can agree to this, which we should.
Right.
Because, I mean, look, affordability helps everyone. It isn't like if you're a Republican, you get a better rate than you're a Democrat.
Yeah, your bills aren't asking you who you voted
exactly.
for. So
what do you have in mind? Do you have something you want to put in place?
Yeah, I do. And then I encourage everybody to go to my website, Rey, number 4, Florida.org. We've actually put out my most important legislation that I want to bring to the table on day one. Because we don't just have complaints, we have ideas. However, to answer your question directly, and I want to be clear here, it all starts with one thing, and that is realizing at the end of the day, we are the same people in the same country following the same sets of beliefs. And we might disagree, but that's what makes America beautiful, right? A concert of disconnected ideas that might contrast each other, but at the end of the day, we're not stepping right, we're not stepping left, we're stepping forward. Or that's how it should be, right? We should be taking those steps forward. That. Thank you. I think about that often, and it just comes out. And the thing is that it's conversations like these where we need to sit down at the table and actually realize, listen, there's a lot that we agree on, more than we disagree on. So the first thing that we need to do is cut out the partisanship, right? Let's leave out the stuff that makes it partisan in those bills. Right. The wording, the language, the way that we speak to each other. Even on TV, we might be shaking hands in the back room, but then we're going on TV and bashing each other. It stops there. It stops right there. I'll be the person to reach across the aisle, just like we have people working who you never thought on the left, working with Donald Trump for their people, right? That's how it should be. It shouldn't be about why I don't like you, but what can we do together to help our people? And that's where it starts, conversations like that. And I think that if we get together, and I know we can do it in Tallahassee, we can focus on things that we all agree on. It's going to be so common sense and easy. There's no way we can't vote against this. And if we do, guess what? We'll put it out to the people and let the people know exactly who it is that's stopping you from getting a brighter future.
Okay, well, it's on your website, but can you give us an insight on what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for the most part, for example, when it comes to affordability, we have one very big topic, and two, actually, I will say, and it goes back to my silent majority. Everybody talks about insurance. We talk a lot, we hear a lot about HOAs, right? We hear a lot about our property taxes, but we're not hearing a lot about insurance, or more so the action on insurance. We know that we have, for example, there are many representatives in Tallahassee who are currently on their website or their campaign, or for the last couple of terms that they've served in office, they talk about working on insurance. And yet not one bill that handles insurance has their name on it.
Amen. I agree to that.
So that's my biggest thing right there, right? Because I don't pretend to be the smartest person in the room, but we do have people like that around us, or we should. That's what makes leaders, right? We bring the smartest people together. However, how can you say you're fighting for something and not even put out legislation to fight that something? You're not fighting for something. What you're doing is convincing the people you're on their side, but then you're actually appeasing the insurance companies who are funding your campaigns and bills, right? So that's my biggest issue. I think the second issue there, going back to the silent majority, is we talk a lot about homeowners. Where are my renters? Half of Miami-Dade are renters.
Actually, more than half of Miami-Dade.
Like, why are we not talking about them? Why are we not discussing how we can help renters or hold landowners? Not just, listen, it's the same thing with HOAs and everybody else. I'm not saying you can't just draw a picture and say they're all bad and they're all good, right? It's the same thing with Florida. The way that Florida varies and is so beautifully diverse, we can't just say one solution solves all. We should be applying a multifaceted solution to multifaceted problems. And that means taking our time to analyze where the breakdown is, and then either install stricter oversight, more government support, because support's a big thing, or just more community involvement, giving the people a voice, right? So it's as simple as that, but it's not as simple as just saying that it works and not getting to work. We have to get to work.
Well, I mean, I think getting the community involved is one of the difficult situations because the community is tired. Like you said, they're tired of the partisanship. They're tired of legislators.
If I may, I just want to caveat there.
Ahead.
Tired, yes, but defeated, no. And we could see that with the people uniting today, helping Venezuela, going back to that, the way that people have come up and come together, no matter who it is that you believe in, vote for, or ascribe yourself to, the energy.
And I'm gonna play the advocate. I disagree because yes, we're there for the Venezuelan people. Yeah. We do, but it shows in our elections results when you only got 11%, 15%, 16%.
Yeah.
Look at city of Florida City and City Homestead.
Yeah.
You know, the voting numbers there are so low, it's barely, ridiculous.
Yeah, barely.
You know, so people are tired. They're tired of, like you said, the people that are elected now that have been saying insurance, but they'll do nothing. Right. They're tired of the same old people getting elected from one seat to another, and still we get the same results. Nothing's changed.
I will say maybe the change starts with electing folks who actually live the work and life that our constituents live and work every day, right? Yeah. So it begins with voting in people who actually knows what it is to break a sweat, to earn $1, to sacrifice, to build a life and own a home, or to just build relationships because you don't have it handed to you on a silver spoon or platter. And that begins with not electing politicians who are taught by politicians, bred and groomed and educated by politicians to become politicians, right? Well, it's a politician pipeline.
Have you been to the Capitol?
The U.S. Capitol?
Yeah.
Yes.
In Tallahassee, I mean.
I have never had the honor of being to the Capitol.
If you walk through the halls of the Capitol, you know you're going to see pictures of farmers, of working people.
Wow.
People that know what it is, like you said, blue collar people, the work. And look, I have nothing against white collar office. I have nothing against attorneys or lawyers. My son's an attorney.
Yeah.
Okay. But like you said,
nice.
We definitely need to look at who we're going to elect. And if, you know, I'm what you believe in. Everybody knows me. It isn't like I hide this. You know, I am a person that if you haven't walked in my shoes, even a little, how do you know how I'm living?
If you can't walk the walk, don't talk the talk, right?
You know?
And it begins there, right?
Exactly.
Is that how the saying goes?
Yeah,
it begins there. It begins there, and it begins with really knowing who it is that's running on your behalf. Look at them. Follow the money.
And look, and times change. You know, I have young adults your age that are my sons. They're the only two that are your age now.
Nice.
And we sit down and talk all the time. In fact, my son Johnny Jr. just won his seat in Community Council 10.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
Wow, honorable, you know, Johnny Jr.
Yes, and you know we talk all the time. And I asked him, why you want to run? He goes, Dad, you know, when I leave here, I want to be able to buy my own home, and I can't. You know, and things are, like you said, things are difficult, and your generation has got to step up.
And I'm so sorry to cut you off there. You know, I really want to point out that, you know, it is my generation, right? And then we were talking about this yesterday. We were talking about having a seat at the table, but is there even going to be a table left? Right? Is there even going to be a table for us to have a seat at? And then even then, we do have people who are part of the Generation Z or our age in office, but are they truly a voice for this generation? Are they truly reflecting what young people are yearning for, which is, first of all, custodianship over planet Earth? My faith has always taught me that God put us on this earth with hands and a brain to be custodians of not just ourselves, but the people around us, the animals, and the life within the land, the water. We live in Florida, for God's sakes. We have one set of Everglades in the entire planet. We have one set of Miami Beach coastal lines on the entire planet. Our coral reefs. Right now, the U.S. Army Marine Corps is dredging up one of the last coral reefs that we have off of our coast to re-beautify our cities, our beaches, to add more sand to our beaches. You know, or the AI data centers that are rising up in Everglades without the locals say so. So my thing is, with young people, it's a very big thing about our custodianship with the planet. It's a very big thing about learning and developing, because we're not being given the tools to really go out there and develop and buy our own homes like your son is expressing to you about. We're not being given those tools. We have to pick them up. They've been put down. And I'm talking about things that actually prepare us for life, like buying a home and knowing what kind of job actually can afford that. Today, does $100,000 a year actually afford you a livable life in Miami? I don't think so.
It's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult.
I don't think so. And that's a really big number. So it's little things like that. Like, I'm happy to say on my campaign, we have, again, these entrepreneurial trailblazers who are leading the charge in their own respective fields. And yet we're bringing on interns to deputy under them, not just for the campaign, but as an ROI, return on investment on their time. They're learning skills that they're going to use in their professional life and their own private life. Right? So we're not just building a campaign, but we're also giving our members the tools that they will use going forward in life, and that should be across the board in every facet of government. Because what is not government but there for the people, right? It's become government for government instead of government for and by and of the people, and that's what we're trying to bring it back to.
Yes, well, hey, Ray, thank you so much. We have run out of time, but before I go, I want to thank you again for coming out. I know you're a busy person. Campaigning, it takes a lot of time, so thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us a little bit about who you are, and I hope my listeners and viewers, those that are on YouTube and stuff, they get to learn a little more about you. Go on his website. What is it again?
Yes, I just do want to say it is Rey, REY, 4 Florida.org. I do want to say one last thing. If you want to be a part of this fight, if you want to have your own hand in making history and actually changing the future, not just waiting around being asked to come into the room, but knock down that door and take the table for ourselves. Join now, be a part of this fight. Let's build a brighter Florida together.
There you go, everyone. You heard the man. Again, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Community News. Thank you, Anthony, for always being here. And he's the man behind making sure that the voice gets out good, the video and everything. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for always tuning in. Thank you for allowing me to be here and bring in people like Ray that want to stand up for our community. Everybody, stay safe. Go on my website. Go on my social media. We have the donations for Venezuela. We have the July 22nd Judicial Forum coming up. And let's just get to know who our judges are. Yeah. Many times people ask me who the judges are. There's a chance for you to go and see who they are and vote for the ones that you want. Plain and simple. So thank you again, everybody. I will see you here next Tuesday again. Stay safe.